Welcome to WYTV7 and Conversations with Pastor Cindy and Friends. Today, I have the honor and privilege of sitting with Lainey George, Executive Director and founder of Redeeming Joy. This ministry is a ministry of hope and healing for women who have been in bondage to human trafficking. They're looking for a place of safety from the modern day slavery that this is. Hello, Lainey.
Hello, Cindy.
It's so good to be with you today. Let's start with a little bit about you presently. What's going on in your life? Tell us a little bit about you and your family.
Yeah, so I am married to an amazing, good-looking guy. We have got 4 children, and we run a home for women who've been sexually trafficked. And then, of course, my sidekick is my service dog, Cuba.
Yeah, we're going to pull him up on the sofa in a minute, okay? I want everybody to see Cuba. He's absolutely magnificent. And so you're married, and you, how many children?
We've got 4 children. 3 of them are grown. My husband only made boys, so we went to China. And so we have a little Chinese princess, and she's 12 years old. And my boys are, let's see, we've got a 23, 21, and 19-year-old.
Awesome. Share with me, Lainey, a little bit about your passion around this and some statistics and facts about human trafficking for the people.
Yeah, I think it's really a misunderstood crisis, honestly, that's going on right now. Oftentimes people are thinking these women and children and boys and men. I talk a lot about women because that's who we serve. But last year in the United States, we had 800,000 lives who were trafficked in the United States, and those were domestically born. So these are our daughters, our sisters, our friends that are being trafficked here in the United States. So it's often gone unknown, often misidentified, but it is happening right here. And so, yeah, it's a much larger issue. I think with internet and the ease of being able to contact somebody with the internet has just made it a lot bigger of an issue than it used to be before. So.
Wow. So I believe you shared with me at one point that Charlotte was #1 in North Carolina.
So North Carolina is in the top 10 for the worst states for human trafficking. And then Charlotte is #1 in North Carolina. So we are right here where we're located. In one of the hubs in North Carolina for human trafficking. So now the ladies we serve will come all across the United States, but that's the local statistics right here in our area.
And how did the women find out about you? And do you go rescue the women or just serve them once they get to your home? How does that work?
We no longer rescue. We did at one point, but we have just now focused on our restoration home. So our ladies are referred to us, whether it's from the FBI or other nonprofits who are helping identify human trafficking victims and then trying to find placement for them. You know, I'd given you the statistic earlier of 800,000 lives, but here in the United States, we've got less than 200 beds that offer the wraparound services that we do for survivors of human trafficking.
200 beds for 800. Wow.
Yeah.
And how did you come about picking the name Redeeming Joy for your ministry?
Yeah. You know, a lot of it was, you know, when I decided that I was going to move forward, and I heard God kind of pricking my heart to actually do this. I was terrified. I was like, there's no way, this is way bigger than what I could possibly imagine. And so I just did one baby step at a time. We started the process. And it's similar to having a baby, at least for me it was, starting a nonprofit. So I started thinking, oh, how are we going to come up with a name? And I loved the name Freedom, but there's so many organizations with the name Freedom. And I know without a shadow of a doubt, both from my story and from the ladies that I've helped, that we have a God who truly redeems. And he doesn't just want to redeem our life, but he really wants to bring us that joy and give us this life that we have left here to live, both set free physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. And he wants us to experience that joy that he has for us. so that's part of it. And then the first lady that we had go through our program, her name so happened to be Joy as well.
Oh, sweet.
So it is kind of a combination between knowing that God truly does have the ability and desire to redeem our joy, and just turn that pain into joy. And that's something he does and loves to do. And it's something we've seen here at Redeeming Joy happen.
You know, as I started this broadcasting, wanting to share information about not only ministries, personal testimonies, but also that it would be of encouragement. And so I selected John 10 as my basic scripture. And of course, you know that it says Jesus came to give us life and that we live that life abundantly. And I can see on your face that you do just that every day. I have had experience working with Lainey over the past 2 months, and I have watched her in action. I've watched her be the hands, feet, and heart of Jesus Christ. Lainey, can you tell me a little bit more about the services that you offer here to the girls for the healing?
Absolutely. So we at Redeeming Joy know that the behaviors that people exhibit and the choices that we make often comes from a place of woundedness that has happened in the past. We believe that what we value and what we believe other people value about us determines what we allow ourselves to do and others to do to us. So we offer a holistic approach and an intensive approach. So we deal with issues as substance abuse, mental health support. We've got licensed therapists that we use with our ladies. We get to offer neuro remapping. And so what our goal is to address all the areas in the lives of the ladies that we serve, meeting them where they're at, and allowing God to do his gentle wooing and his tender healing, and just be a means of direction on the path of healing, so that when they get to a place where we've got to dig up some of those deep emotional things that may have said, hey, it was okay for this person to do this to me, they've got the tools that they need to do that, and they've got the support that they need. And we do it in a family environment here, so they are not left alone to do it. And then we provide medical and food and shelter and that as well. But it's the intensive emotional, spiritual, and physical healing that we focus a lot on here.
So when you talk about family, I believe you or your husband and children sit down with the ladies around a big table in the evening and have dinner together. Is that right?
We do. We do.
And that it's got to be a blessing, not only to you and your family, but to the women, because I'm sure that their families didn't sit down very often and eat and have godly conversations. So it is, as I've experienced it, one happy family here. And every day is not blissful by any means, but God always supplies for you. Lainey, you said in the beginning that you were scared to death. You had no idea how to do this. And yet, in the 2 months I was here, I saw God just intervene in, well, like, for example, somebody donated a SUV so that you can take the girls to their appointments. And then our church, the church I attend, they had a big, huge treasure sale, as they do every year, and donated a large amount of money to help you, and had an art sale. And again, donated some of that money. I want you to tell me just a little bit quick, just a little snippet of what is brain mapping.
Yes. Short story is science has caught up with God, and you can physically renew your mind. So oftentimes our ladies come with big struggles, and we all got our struggles, but we've got substance abuse, and we've got emotional trauma and PTSD. Every lady we've served has PTSD. And unfortunately, when those things happen, it does affect our brain, and it causes, now this isn't the science version,
Right.
but parts of the brain to just stop working as well as other parts of the brain. And so you've got a part of the brain that pretty much hijacks another part of the brain. And so it would be, for instance, our fight or flight. You may have somebody who is in an intense level of a fight mode in their brain, where I'm not going to do this, I can't do this.
Right.
And then all the skills that we are giving them, they're applying these disciplines and these behavior changes, but they're not seeing those changes, and it's simply because their brain isn't allowing them to do it. So we've partnered up with New Mentality. They're in Mooresville, and it's actually a science thing that they do where they put this cap on their brain and different sensors. Obviously, these are not the big science words, but
Right.
they put the sensors on their brain, and we're trying to exercise parts of the brain that aren't working as well. And in exchange, those parts of the brain are working, and now these disciplines and practices that they're doing are easier for them to apply that. So it's really, we've seen great success with it.
That's another thing God has supplied, are the many people that are come up beside you and along beside you to help the women heal. It is a sad, sordid journey. And how would you respond to, and I've heard people say, why do the women do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so frustrating.
Yes, it is.
You know, a little bit of my story, I was exploited as a young child. And I think, honestly, there's a place where your identity gets robbed from you, whether it's from experiences, whether it's from hurts and whatnot. But you start to believe that your value and worth is wrapped up in what a controller has to tell you, or that you're only worth doing A, B, or C. And so when somebody comes up to you and, you know, you've got a vulnerability, you've got I don't feel like I'm worth anything, I feel like I'm less than, or maybe it's a need where I've got to really pay for something, and somebody befriends you and comes and says, hey, you know, I can take care of you, I can do this, I just need you to do this. And before you know it, you're wrapped up into something that, number one, you feel like you've made this choice in doing, when in reality you've been persuaded and coerced into doing it, and then you feel trapped, you know. And I think vulnerabilities get you into this life, but I know more than that, it's shame that keeps you continuing on in this path.
Yes.
Because you just are filled with shame and don't think that there's, you know, something good out there that can come from this experience. And so why bother trying anything different? This is kind of your lot in life, is to satisfy these desires of these men.
Yes. And I'm sure there's a huge fear factor. And I believe you shared with me one day that only 1% women ever escape. And there was something that went on the first 48 hours.
Yeah, within the first 48 hours, usually if we've got a runaway, I think that's the statistic you're thinking, a high number of the ladies that we've served were either foster children or children who ran away from a family environment that wasn't ideal. And so within 48 hours, they're usually propositioned by somebody who wants to add them to their team for the purpose of selling them for sex. You know, and they use things, you know, they're not mean, ugly, burly, scary guys. They're usually men who are convincing them that they love them, that they're going to take care of them. And so they prey upon that desire to be wanted, that desire to be loved. And
Yes.
They give them a false sense of that for a season. And then once they've got them enslaved, they can pretty much do whatever they want. And oftentimes that's about when they start introducing the drug to them and some other things.
Laney, the miraculous witnessing that I've seen here, and because you have experienced everything that each one of these women have experienced, you have a gift of healing. It's one thing for people to sit back and have empathy and listen and pray for, but you actually can sit with a woman and hear and understand every pain, every emotion, all the anger that surfaces. And I've watched you do it, and you're just amazing, and you are a miracle yourself. Tell me how long you were in trafficking before you were ready to leave.
Yeah. So my exploitation and our trafficking was between the age of 3 and 17. And so, you know, I love that God didn't waste any of that hurt.
Yes.
There was plenty of it. But, you know, I got out at 17, but I didn't start my healing process until I was much older. Again, I was, like many of the women, I didn't think it was for me. You know, I didn't think that there was hope for me to be healed from all of those wounds. But in fact, you know, once I had the courage to step out and say, I need help, I started to get that healing. And so now I'm able to, you know, sit across from a lady and understand that hurt, you know, and understand, you know, the process that it takes. It's not a quick fix. It's not easy. And, you know, I think as a little girl, I just wanted somebody to notice. I just wanted somebody to walk alongside me and help me through it. And so now I get that opportunity to do it with the ladies. And it's why I get up every day. It truly is, you cannot deny the fact that God has radically set me free, radically redeemed my life. And I know it's not just for me. You know, I say it often, I believe that God sets us free to help set other people free.
Yes.
And so when you've got this amazing treasure, you want to share it with others and want them to know you can do this. You know, so it's, you know, they come to us hopeless, and it's one of those things that, you know what, I'm going to hold your hope for you, and I'm going to believe that for you until you can do it for yourself. So yeah, I got out at 17, but I definitely wasn't free at 17. I tried to pretend it didn't exist and that I could just push it behind me.
Good old denial.
It don't work. It doesn't.
They say it's a river in Egypt. I know.
I agree. So yeah. So now I am. I know I look 21, Cindy, but I'm in my 40s.
Yeah, as me and 35 years old. Go ahead.
And just getting to walk out in that freedom. And you know what? It's a continual process. You know, I'm not where I was 5 years ago, and I don't anticipate to be where I am today 5 years from now either as well.
Exactly. And I believe you shared with me a while back that this is a $145 billion a year industry.
Yes. It's scary.
Making money off using men, women, and children this way is mind-boggling. So I'm just amazed at your stature and the way God has healed you emotionally, physically, spiritually. And before we close, I want to see Cuba, your service dog, and tell us a little bit about him.
Let's see if I can get him here. Come on, Cuba George.
Come on, Cuba.
Of course, he's been napping down here.
He's an amazing boy. Get treat. Come on. Come on and give you prize.
Of course, he's just like a child and doesn't want to. Cuba. Come on.
There he is. See?
Hello to everybody.
Look at Cuba.
So Cuba is my service dog. So many of the women we have got PTSD, so he serves as a PTSD service dog, and oftentimes therapy for the ladies as well. And I guess he might be a little camera shy because he isn't showing off that sweet little face of his.
Oh, beautiful. And he is a Native American
Indian dog.
Yes. He's precious and priceless. And he's my boy because I bring him prizes to work every day.
I think if you had a treat, Cindy, he would have done just about anything.
Well, I brought them, but they're hidden right now. So that concludes this powerful sharing with Lainey. I hope that it will encourage any one woman, any one man that wants to be a part of this rescue of donations to Redeeming Joy to support Lainey. She has 3 women now. She can house 6, but she needs funds to do that. And the basis of her ministry is based on Isaiah 61. You can reread that for yourself and see her passion throughout that. And Lainey, I think you told me once that you have a campaign, and it's $61 per
So it's $61 a day it costs us to rehabilitate the ladies that we serve. But if we had 200 people giving $61 a month, we would be fully funded and we'd be able to actually house up to 12 ladies and give them the services that they need.
And it wasn't too long ago, like you shared it back in July, I believe it was, that you had 8 women call you in 1 week, and because of funding. Yes. And you have 3 waiting to hear right now if you can work through that. So thank you, listeners, for being with us today. WYTV7 and Conversations with Pastor Cindy and Friends. We'll continue on another topic hopefully next week. And God bless you, and live life abundantly and give back from that richness of healing that God's given you. Peace of Christ be with you. Thank you.